With so much changing in the world and all of a sudden things reopening, employees and employers are now being asked to come back to the office. And things have started coming to a head, and many employees are threatening to quit. What's going on and what can you do about this? Today in this video, I'm going to give you some of the biggest things that we have heard from employees, biggest things that we've heard from employers, and what you can do in order to start bridging that gap. Hi, my name is Crystal with Korero Solutions, a company dedicated to helping you become the leader that we know you deserve to be. All right, so to break down our top reasons that we have heard from employees, the first is they don't want to go back to the way that things were before. These employees found that since being able to work from home and work in a very different environment, they've actually been able to become more successful. They feel like their life is back in balance and that they are able to focus in the areas that they need to in order to achieve the most. Whether it's their work life, their family life, their personal dreams and ambitions, they have finally found that work-life balance and ability to prioritize that companies have been talking about giving them for so many years. So for them, it's time that those workplaces finally give in to practice what they have preached to employees that have finally found this balance. The next is these employees have said that they finally get to be able to use that time that they would typically use for their commute. They can refocus that 1, 2, sometimes 3 hours that they would have spent in traffic going to and from work every single day, and they can put that time into things that actually make them feel good and allow them to not be stressed out by the time that they walk through the door, whether it be at home or at the workplace. These staff have finally been able to figure out what balance means for them. They feel like their life is finally more even though they're trying to manage things still, because work-life balance is really elusive and ever-changing. But they can finally prioritize, and when they're home, and when they're working, they're working. Now, I understand this isn't true for some. This is one of the things that we have been told is extremely important, and people are finally starting to find what balance means to them at this stage in their lives. For many people, they've reorganized their homes. Some people have even bought new homes in order to create their home workspace. For these people, going back to the office to just work back in their cubicle or their office in a different location doesn't make as much sense, because they already have all of that stuff set up within their homes. Lots of employees still have fear as well. Now, fear for them could look a few different ways. For some, we've been told they're still afraid of going in and getting sick. This is a real fear. They don't want things to shut down again. They don't want to bring other colds home. For many people, myself included, this has been the longest time without having to be sick. Having children that are in school, they bring more stuff home anyway. So being able to shield yourself from some of that additional illness has been very beneficial. And for a lot of people, being able to have the time to get outside and really take care of their health has had a positive impact. Many people also don't want to go backwards. They saw the way that their family was functioning before. They saw the way that their mental health was before this, or the mental health of those that they loved or those that they lived with. And they don't want to go back. Now they're able to focus time on their family. They're able to focus time on their health. They're able to focus on the people that they live with and the people that they care about. By taking that extra time and going back into the office, they won't be able to have that same time. A lot of lunch times are worked. A lot of commute time is spent very, very stressful and not in a calming way. There's no longer going to be that sitting on their deck in the morning to enjoy a coffee. Instead, it's going to be waking up, getting everybody out the door, going through traffic just to walk in and find out you're 5-10 minutes late for your meeting. People don't want to go back to that. Now, I'm generalizing here. I know for some people they do want to go back. Some people absolutely loved the office environment. This isn't true for everyone. It's time to look at the difference between equity and equality, what people need versus carte blanche, just giving people exactly the exact same thing. Figure out what the priorities are for your company. Now, some of the big things that we heard from employers are, we hired them to be an office worker. We hired our business and we set up our business model to be able to work from a building all together as a team. And since everything's happened, we no longer have that. Now, you've been told it's very important to get everyone back in the office. Leases need to be paid. There's office furniture sitting there. There's office staff that rely on this, that they need people to come back in the office to fulfill those contracts and to meet their obligations. For others, there was performance issues before everyone was sent home. Being at home has made this so much more complicated to deal with. Within that, leaders have really had to challenge their skill set. For some, this meant learning completely new ways of doing things. For others, they just put it off. And there's still issues that need to be addressed that, of course, they prefer to address in person. At this time, with people not going back, it's not happening, or with refusing to go back, there's still issues that are pervasive that need to be handled. Another issue was the hours versus the output. In many professions, there is a certain amount of required hours that employees are working each week. Now, having employees work from home, this is so much more difficult to accurately keep track of. When people punch in and punch out at a computer, isn't necessarily the same out as seeing them walk through the door and then seeing them when they leave each day. This is even an issue when you are able to see your employees, because we heard constantly before all of this came out that people were on their phones, that they were watching TV at their desks. Many people act like this is something new that happened when people started working from home. It was happening before. It's about how you manage those incidents, because they're going to happen no matter where. And this is about addressing the individuals and the issues that were happening, and about prioritizing what is it about. Is it about being able to account for hours? Or is it more important how efficient somebody is and how well they do their job? Now, I cannot tell you exactly what you need to do with every single person without having a conversation with you and them. So I'm going to leave you with a few tips that will help you make it from point A to point B with these staff that don't want to come back to the office. The first is, understand with any of these options, you can always put into place a trial period. Just because you agree to something right now, if you find that it's not working, you can always come back to the table and readdress it if it's not working. And if it is working, you can extend it to an area that both you and your staff feel comfortable. Just make sure to say this up front and let them know whether it's 2 weeks, a month, and negotiate it from there. Figure out what your concerns are. If you don't have legitimate concerns as to why they don't want to come back in the office, it's going to be very difficult to convince them to, as just because I said so. I mean, I know for me that hasn't worked since I was a kid. So why would it work now with an adult, especially somebody that you want to stay within your organization? I mean, it's easy enough if you have somebody that just doesn't mesh with your team and they threaten to quit. But if you have somebody that you really want to stay there and they're producing fantastic results and you want to keep them, you need to figure out what their concerns are, what your concerns are, and have a conversation to figure out how you can find a way forward. Let them be part of that problem-solving process. They can come up with solutions that will work for them and address your needs. But you can't do that unless you're willing to have an open and honest conversation. Have them choose their priorities, and you need to choose your priorities as well. What is important about each of these elements, about why they do want to come back to work, why they don't want to come back to work? What is it about their work that needs to change? And what is it that you as a leader might need to learn as new skills to manage people in this new environment? Like I was talking about before, the time versus output. Figure out which of those is the most important. If you have a certain level of expectation of your staff that needs to be communicated to them, Don't hold that back from them. You need to share that information with them. If the biggest concern is that you don't know how to manage the employees that are working remotely, first, we have a video that I'll link in the description below that you can go and check out. Second, is it's not their job. And I want to reiterate this. It is not their job to show you how to do your job well. You may have to level up your skills. If you don't know how to manage remote employees and that's your concern, level up what you're doing. Go and find somebody that can mentor you that's been doing this well. Your company is not the first company to have remote employees. So if that's what's holding you back, figure out how to do it efficiently. Your job as their leader, their manager, their supervisor, whatever it is not to micromanage and figure out exactly what they're doing every second of the day. Your job is to help them meet the expectations and the metrics that have been laid out for them, and creating the systems to help them achieve that, and removing the barriers required to have them do their jobs effectively and meet those expectations and those metrics. If that means that you have to change what you are doing and you have to get different skills, be ready to do that and be willing to invest the time to do that. Only by this and by working with your staff will you be able to have the best team you possibly can. And I know that you deserve that, your employees deserve that, and your organization deserves that. Be willing to be that person that goes out of their way to do better for every single person within their organization so that you can thrive. Don't forget, if you're looking for some tips on how to manage your remote employees, go check out our other video in the description below or at the end of this video, and remember to do something today that will change your tomorrow. Until next time.